in St. Croix.
So
the baseball side.
Yes, took pictures, walked around inside.
Beach.
Call the meeting to order, please. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can we do a roll call, please?
Wonderjump?
Here.
Hybor. Buck. Here. Gardine.
Here.
Palmer. Here. DeHaan.
Here.
Klein.
Here. Please note as a courtesy to the members of the audience and the Board of Education to silence your cell phone. The public will be able to speak during public comment if signed up. Do we have any more forms to take in? No? All right, great, thank you. First order of business, approval of the agenda. Can I get a motion? Support. All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carries. Reports agenda. Got board member reports tonight. Seems like it's been forever since we've been together with the extra long time for break. So I'm looking forward to hearing what's happened in the last month. Why don't we start over with Amy tonight?
Well, I just want to get Chris's text here just real quick. Chris Orm from Grandville Little League just wanted to make sure that we realize that Parks Department, in conjunction with the school, they have put in all new sprinkling systems over in behind West, which is really great. It's really going to be helping to maintain those fields. And he just wanted to make sure that we got a quick shout out to Parks and Recs, Grandville Little League, and Grandville Schools, and how we've worked together on that. So that's really nice. Got some really cool things going on with public parks as far as some of the things coming through with state grants that are some really big state grants. And we also have a man who moved into our community who has a ton of experience writing grants. So we're really excited about what's happening with our public parks and how they're going to connect in with the schools. So it's great how they're servicing our children and our parents and even our older citizens. So it's been fun.
Thank you. Barb?
No report.
Thank you. Yeah.
Just excited to see spring sports starting and a lot of activity out there. The school was abuzz last week out there during the games, and then just to say, like, the baseball team went to Fort Myers for spring break, and I'd say that was pretty successful. I know the boys really enjoyed that, and I thought it went very well. The coaches asked for a survey to get feedback from the parents on what they liked and didn't like, and so we'll still use that going forward.
Excellent.
That's it.
Wasn't going to have anything, but I got something real quick for Raj to do. Raj, so tying into Amy's with West, which everyone's excited about, but apparently the turf company is slowing down. They're going to get that installed. And they're going to either seed it. I think they're seeding it. I don't know if there's the delay. It's probably a good thing it's delayed right now. That means they knock the fences down and the kids can play there, but I didn't know what the timing.
Yeah, I'll check into it.
Thank you very much.
Christy?
Yeah, just hats off to a lot of citizens that came forward regarding the Premier Athletic Club, also known as Ramblewood. And they were on the road to close down. And so quite a large stir was made, and a lot of Grandville citizens and a lot of our community showed up to really advocate. I know Jason was part of it. He would have probably reported on it, but they made great movement in that the possibility that it might not be closing. So that's really exciting for just recreation in general. So you might know some scoop, but I don't know. Anyway, and then also Amy walked in, so I was excited to see you. And our community, Grandville Community Leaders, is meeting tomorrow, and we're going to meet over at the library. So looking forward to reconvening our group that tries to meet 3 times a year. So good group of leaders in our community, and I'm looking forward to seeing you tomorrow.
Wonderful, thank you. So I have a few good things from some of our administrators that I wanted to share with you. Over at Century Park Learning Center, they had 261 students earn a gold medal during March is Reading Month, so that was really exciting. They had so many students participate at such a high level. At Central Elementary, they had the Donuts with Grown-Ups. I had mentioned I'd walked in on that. It was quite active and fun to see all the parents in there on a Friday morning in March, celebrating March's Reading Month with the students. They also had, and for March's Reading Month, over 703 reading slips. Their building goal was 400. They had 703. Each slip represents 100 minutes of reading per student. So they had over 70,300 minutes of reading during the month of March. And for a reward for this excellent achievement, the principal dressed up as a princess before break, and they were able to duct tape him to the wall at the end of their day assembly. So lots of fun and reward for the students for doing those kind of things. Took a cue from Principal Mulder. He loves to get duct taped to the wall as well. At West, Principal Mulder let me know that they are getting ready for testing season. As we know, April and May bring in things like the MSTEP and MAP testing, and they just did some PSAT at the high school. So kudos to everyone who's putting those things together. That's a lot of work. They are lining up some field trips. So some opportunities to do some community-based learning and get out there. And they are enjoying having volunteers back in the building, working on watchdogs coming back at the end of the year. And they're working on some teacher appreciation plans, which I think is always an important thing to do, but especially this year, is to remind our educators how much of a valuable resource they are to our community. So big thanks to them. And then at East, they wanted to call out that they had an addition of an ASD classroom, and that it's been a very welcome addition to the building. Inclusion of children with special needs in their general education classrooms has been a wonderful learning experience for all. So they just wanted to celebrate that exciting opportunity. And I want to echo what Brent said about the activities up at the high school. I went up to a track meet, lacrosse game, there was baseball going. It was nice to see everyone out and also see people talking about going and taking a break with their family, whether it was just a trip across state or going out of state. It was nice to get that sense of normalcy and people getting out and enjoying some rest and relaxation time together without all the extra worries and concerns that we've had the last few years. So I really appreciate everyone for traveling safe.
Can I make one additional announcement that I hadn't thought about? Music Man is going on Thursday through Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
So Thursday through Sunday. So this is a shameless plug because my son is in the pit orchestra. So, and I love that. And my mom's coming up, and she was in that play when she's 85. She was in that play when she was in her 20s. So, super classic play going on at our high school. I expect it will be an amazing performance.
That'll be excellent.
We
And
got
also
trouble.
have-
Right here in River City. Yeah.
Exactly. So perfect. We also have the choir review is coming up, so people can get up to that. And I believe our band, remember they came a few months ago and talked about the Winter Guard. They had an excellent showing in their first season out. So I'm really glad that we were able to support that program and give students who are interested in pursuing fine arts opportunities year-round to do that, especially with marching. It's so much fun. So that is all for us. On to you.
Okay, a lot of things happening, a lot of exciting things, as you can tell, and we know these next few months are going to go by really fast. I'm very happy to introduce Mr. Martini. Mr. Martini, as you know, is our principal at Cummings Elementary, and he's here to talk to us about some exciting things happening out there. So take her away, Dave.
All right, thank you. I have a handout for you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks. Well, it's good to be here, and thank you for having me tonight. So it's always hard, hearing all the things that are going around the district. It's fun to listen to all the buildings and all the highlights because there's always something going on. It's amazing. We've got the Art and Chocolate Walk coming up, and they're just March's Reading Month. I did not get duct taped to the wall. Sorry, maybe next year. Maybe next year. So when asked to come and share something about my building, it's kind of hard to pick. 31 years in Grandville. Love my job, still love my job. This is my 9th year at Cummings, and I just love the community out at Walker, great families. So it's hard to pick, we have so many cool things. So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to kind of focus on some things we've been focused on the last few years, and that is kind of like the whole child. So reading is very important, math, science, the content area is all very important. But you got to take into account these little kids that come into your buildings with a lot of stuff on their minds, a lot of other things that are happening outside the classroom that kind of hinder that sometimes. And so we really try to focus on maybe, a kid just, they're frustrated about the learning. They're frustrated about themselves or something that's happening at home. Maybe they have an attention issue, and they have a hard time focusing. Maybe it's a stamina issue. They could be having a bad day. Maybe their pet died last night. You don't know. There's all kinds of things they come into those doors with, you just don't know. And sometimes kids just need a reset. So we've done a couple things over the last few years, and one of them that was pretty popular with our school, especially for the K-3 kids, is we brought in a sensory walk. We worked with our occupational therapist, our physical therapist, and also our school counselor. And we just said, well, what are some things we can do when a kid just needs a break, and maybe just a movement break? And if you've the OTs and PTs, they can speak much better than I can about it, but there's a lot about regulation and just, decompressing and just different things you can do with your body to help you kind of refocus. So we spent some good dollars, and we put down, and the pictures do not do them justice, but we have a long hallway in the middle of our building, and we put the sensory walk down. So these pictures are kind of just some samples of it. So you'll see the step. There's these paint blots, and they step on those, and they, 1 foot at a time. There's a hopping one. There's a different activity for each thing, and each thing, some of them are balance, some of them are they're really stomping to really get out some of that, aggression. They're getting some compression by some wall push-ups. There's some balance, like the tree pose. Tiptoes, walking on your tiptoes, heel-to-heel activities, marching and stomping on those, jumping. So the kids can use this all day long. And it's really, the K-3 really like it, but I'll be honest, walking down the hallway, you're seeing 6th graders doing the same thing. I kind of ruined my straight line down the hallway. As soon as they get to that section, they're all over the place. But it's a lot of fun. Some kids, they just need a little break. And they can say, hey, I'm having a rough time, can I take a break? And their teacher can send them by themselves, and they'll go out there, say, do 3 activities, do the whole circuit, whatever you want to do. Some kids, we've got scheduled. It's just scheduled every day at a certain time. We just know, you can track, they're kind of, about 10:30 every morning, they need a little break. So I have a parapro that will come around if they need it, and they can guide them through those activities. So it just gives them an opportunity to get out there, stretch, shake it off, and then get back and get the stamina and focus for what they need to do. We've had a lot of success with that. Another thing, I just brought a couple samples here. Per our counselor and courtesy of the Grandville Education Foundation, we got a grant. We also did not just the gross motor and big movement type breaks. We brought these coping kits that we put together. So I brought a 1st grade one and a 6th grade one, and every classroom has one. And so this is for the kid that maybe they don't need a big walk or to get out of the room or something. They just need some time, and they can ask for this, or their teacher might say, hey, I think you're getting a little upset. I think you need a little break. Why don't you take the coping box? They can take it to the back of the room, to the hallway, whatever. So the lower one here, there's a breathing activity, lots of different timers. They can just take a time out, relax. We got coloring books in here, fidget toys, things like that. For some of the older kids, there's word searches, some lotion, some squeeze toys, a silly putty. Just a minute, just give them time to take a breather and then ready to come back and face their day. So, and then I cannot say enough about our SEL coaches and our counselors. They're doing a phenomenal job. And I'm so fortunate, thank you. We have ours full-time in our building, all the buildings this year. Fantastic. It's been a huge game changer for us. But just doing social groups and behavior groups and just coping things. We just partnered, this is our 3rd year in a row, we partnered with Ellie's Place for kids that are grieving because they've lost someone or a close friend or a close relative. So I can go on and on about our SEL coaches and initiatives that we're doing for both our Tier 1 and Tier 2 and Tier 3 students. So that's all I have to share tonight. Just want to give you some of those. If you ever want to come out and take a break,
I know.
Be
take
there
a run on
tomorrow.
the
Yeah, get
sensory
my tippy
pad.
toes
There you
out.
go. Yep. Yes.
So with the walls or with the hallways, is this in kind of like in replacement of an actual like a sensory room?
Yeah, we didn't have room for a sensory room, and that would be
Right, that's what I
awesome if we
wondered.
could do that. So
Yeah.
this was like, we were kind of tight for space. We thought, what's something we can do?
Great
And
alternative.
basically, it's decals, it's stickers, and they go right on the floor, and then you wax right over them.
Okay.
So, and my building, we do not have carpet throughout, so it kind of worked out. We could put it right there on the tile, and we wax over, and it just becomes part of the floor. But yeah, we don't have a sensory room, and because of that, these kits help with that kind of stuff too. But it'd be awesome to have a sensory room with a swing and some of those other things too.
Yep.
So.
You have
And the
those balls
sensory
that
just itself.
jump up and down.
Yep, we have some of those, yep, for sure. And some classrooms use them in class for kids to sit on and different things. All types of sensory tools. We've got the little wiggle seats that you can sit right on your chair that kind of help you kind of stay focused, and other seats that are more benchy that you just have to use a lot of core to kind of keep yourself focused and stuff. Vests and all kinds of things. Lots of different sensory gadgets, so. Yes.
So you talked about the SEL coaches and some of the outcomes. I wonder if you could speak to those. Like, are you seeing just behavior change? Like, you're not having as many people sent to the principal's office? I don't know if they still do that. But
Yep.
I just wonder kind of what you see as that.
I think number one, we're trying to be very proactive with the work we're doing. And so let's say for the social skills groups and things like that, we do see a bang for a buck there. We do see a lot of change there. We've got some kids, they need to take the course again, because they don't get it the first time. But yes, as far as referrals, a decline in referrals for specific kids who are having trouble with, let's say, hands and feet to yourself or name calling or whatever. Go through the class with her, and we do see some improvement there. I think you've heard from Elizabeth Petty in the breathing program in the past at some presentations. I think she shared some data with you. And so we're piloting that this year, and I've not seen the data on that, but she's very encouraged with what's happening in our kids. And the other thing is too, when we have those tier 3 kids that just need a little extra support with behavior plans, that's been a game changer. We have implemented through the help with Jason Glarham and through our PBIS work, the check-in, check-out. That's been huge for Cummings. I've had a lot of success with that. It doesn't help with everyone, but it's basically a behavior type plan. It's not really a plan, but they follow through the day. They check in at the office. They get a rah-rah, usually from my secretary because I'm outside greeting kids. So she's, hey, you got this. Let's get your goal. They check in with their teacher throughout the day, and they're going for some points, and they get some awards. That has been huge. And yep, it doesn't work for everyone, and sometimes we got to go to another tier 3 thing to just kind of re-look at that because it's not working. But that's been huge. So yeah, and we're doing very proactive, like I say, with the slides and the classroom lessons. Just it's a tier 1 approach, to our well-beings and keeping ourselves,
So important for all of us.
Very. And then the tier 2 things are the groups that she's running or bringing outside people to run in, and the tier 3 is for the behaviors thing. So I don't know. I don't have specific data, but it does make a huge difference. And for some kids, it does make a huge difference.
I've been to some conferences where they have those things for us too at the table where we can
there you go.
play with a some gum.
I'm a fidgeter too. I know. I like to today. Paper clip, whatever.
Yeah.
So
thank you, Dave.
And they can also use them, like you say, at their seats. Just if they can handle it, it just helps them stay focused.
Any questions from this side?
Any other questions? Yeah.
I'm just going to say, really, really appreciate this. We all know that we need to mask it before we bloom, right? So we have to get to what they need and build their toolkits. And in the last couple of years, I've been researching ways to deal with moving from the sympathetic to the parasympathetic, and these are just simple tools.
Yep.
They're deep psychological concepts to get students to move from that fight or flight to the I'm in control. And when they can get themselves in control, and they can learn.
Yep, it's very powerful, and I love it the most when, especially like our 4th grade, 3rd grade, when they can say, "I need a little break." They do it on their own, and then they get back, and there's very little adult interaction. They just know they just need a little break.
Well, and the key to that too is that you have people trained around them to understand that.
Yep.
And so that's
and they're not,
important.
going after themselves or someone else or putting themselves down. They're just like, "Hey, I got this. I can fix it. Get back on track."
2 minutes of grace can give you 2 hours of great learning afterwards.
Absolutely.
So thank you. Thank you for going above and beyond and doing these things. We appreciate your report.
Thank you.
And I can say that the push-ups on the wall and so on works well, even for big guys. It'll work. I'm sure I look a little goofy, but the hands are still. While I would rather have them up a little higher, I can make it happen. It's hard to walk down the halls without doing that stuff too. I mean, you just wanna be a part. So.
Fantastic.
Thanks, Dave.
Anything else for your report? Okay, great. We don't have any old business. So moving to consent action items, can I get a motion?
Support.
All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? All right. Moving on to regular action items. We'll grab these. Our first item is the approval of the GEA contract. It is recommended that the board ratify and officially sign the master agreement between the Grandville Education Association and Grandville Public Schools. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Support.
All right, some discussion.
Sure, we're very excited to bring this to you. We have a wonderful working relationship with the Grandville Education Association, and I have to give kudos to John Philo, Scott Merkel, Kayla, Heather, who's not here tonight, because they do a fantastic job working with that group as well. We have great relationships, and we're able to sit down and really, really come to a very solid, fair agreement for people. So just very excited about that. And at this point, I'll turn things over to John, and he can give you a brief overview.
So I gave you guys kind of the highlight tour document of the agreement, but some of the things that we're really happy that we were able to do, I was talking with Bob and Brett about it, but we were able to negotiate a step restoration for our employees who were here from 2011 to 2013 school year, where our fund balance was around 4%. We froze steps for 1 year, so if they were at step 2 that year, they would have gone to step 3, but they stayed at step 2 the following year and have been behind 1 step on that ladder, that, if you will, on the salary scale. So we were able to identify ways to get them whole. For folks that are already at step 29 or 30 and are staying, we're giving them a one-time off-schedule payment to create some wholeness there. And then we're also, for any of our retirees, as a part of the severance, we'll do like the sick leave that's part of their agreement. We're giving them $1,000 on that as well, just as the vast majority of them are kind of in that top end range. So we're really excited to be able to do that. Really excited that over the course of the last 7-8 years, we've been able to continue to build our fund balance and keep a great relationship with the GEA to be able to do that. The maternity leave piece, I'm not sure that I've seen this in any other agreements, and I've looked at a lot of different agreements before we get into bargaining, but we are going to provide 6 days for any of our mothers on the maternity leave side of it on the front end without charging them any sick leave. And then beyond that, if they utilize sick leave to get through the first 6 weeks of their maternity leave, for every year after that, we'll give them back 1 day per maternity leave. So if they stay for, if they have a child in their 5th year and they stay through their 30th year, by the end of that time, they will have received those 24 days back. So it provides them some more equitable access to the sick leave severance that's later on in the agreement. And we just felt like that was a great way to kind of circle back and provide some of that. And then we're also going to get back into the tuition reimbursement piece. We kind of created some specificity inside of that it was for an advanced degree coursework. So, and then we put a cap on that of $35,000 for each year, but about $17,500 per semester per June to December, and then January to July. So we know what our top cost would be, and then if we, in that 6-month period, end up with more than $17,500 in that 6-month period, we'll take the total number of credits divided by $17,500 by the total number of credits and pay out that way. So that, again, it creates a little bit of equity in that moment. So those are things that we were really, really excited to, in some cases, to bring back, and in other cases to institute. And like Roger said, it's so nice to be able to go into negotiations where you hear horror stories about how both sides kind of go after each other. And in ours, we can talk honestly about what our philosophies are as it relates to maintaining fund balance and doing all of those pieces. And we know that we're heard, and they take that into consideration as they make whatever counter offers that they may need to make we know that it's not prototypical of negotiations, and we're just really thankful that it is for us. So, what questions might you have?
So John,
Yeah.
you know, earlier in the year, made quite a bit of press around West Michigan that districts, or Raj, either one, don't want to pull you out of it, were receiving stipends. And I had discussed this with Roger when it was approached, when I was approached. But can you give a little bit of background as to what happened and how this contract is funded partially by potential ESSR funds, so that you were looking more towards the longevity and giving teachers a bigger bump in the long run versus that initial quick hit?
Absolutely. So, and then when we talk philosophy, that one of the philosophies that we have from the district level standpoint, not just for our teachers, but for all of our staff, is how can we help not just give them a one-time payment that may falter, but how do we help create long-term wealth? So if we had paid out, let's say, as an example, we paid out $1,000 stipend to every one of our employees who've been engaged in pandemic learning over the course of this year, it would have been $1.6 million that we would have handed over, which we would have been happy to do. Far better, we felt, to hold on to some of those funds and be able to roll them into more long-term wealth with the agreement that we have. So, 4% in year one is, I looked back historically as far as I could find spreadsheets, and I don't remember, I couldn't find the last time that we had a 4% increase in a single year for our staff, and I'm really excited that we were able to do that. I think it's important as a district that we also try to work on that long-term wealth side of it and think and be thoughtful of, we can follow the pack and do this, but we find that agreement and that consistency. And I talked with our GEA about it in those days and said, look, we're coming up to negotiations. I'd rather hold that money and figure out a way to invest it in a very different way. And thankfully they were amenable to that, and we were able to find something really great.
One of the things that I guess is there's a lot of positive things about what makes us a very good district. And one of them is that we pay very well across the state. So we're in the top 10 typically for, salaries, for teacher salaries. So, for me, I'm very grateful that the administration continued to take that stance and, the quick hit versus what can it give you over time. I'm glad you took that avenue.
I don't know if you know, I think the teachers voted on this already, right?
We did.
Did it pass by, I'm just curious, did it pass by a wide margin, or was it?
The return was
All right. I'm just curious how happy they were with it.
Yeah, what I've heard, at least reflected back to me from principals after their staff had seen what the contractor had gone through the ratification agreement, was just how it seemed to take the mood of the building and lighten it just that much more. It felt appreciated and recognized, and that the conglomeration between the two of us, we were able to put something together that was really good. So, but I don't know the actual number.
Answer my question. I was just curious if they seemed happy or not.
Yeah, for sure.
Any other questions or comments?
Nice job.
Always proud of the work that we do collectively. So thank you to the representatives from the GEA, and thank you to our administration for continuing that long history of cooperative, like mindset, looking for the long term, not for the quick wins. And especially at this point in time, recognizing the importance of instilling stability when there's a lot of burnout, there's a lot of folks looking. This provides additional incentive that we see them, we hear them, we notice their hard work, and we honor it. frankly, this is better than a lot of corporate increases this year, and I think it's very well deserved. So I'm very thankful for the work you've all done. Thank you. Vote. Let's do a
Roll
roll
call.
call, please.
Ivor, Buck, I'm abstaining. Gardine,
Yes.
DeHaan,
Yes.
Palmer,
Yes.
Wondergen,
Abstain.
and Klein.
Yes. Motion carries. All right, moving to the next item of business. We are at our pilot furniture purchase. It's getting real. It is recommended that the Board of Education authorize the purchase of 3 pilot classroom furniture sets for the new 7-8 building from the following vendors: Great Lakes Furniture Supply in the amount of $30,861.52, and Custer in the amount of $44,738.46. Can I get a motion?
Support.
So, when you're buying large amounts of furniture, it's probably smart to not just go buy large amounts of furniture and hope it works for everybody, right? So what we did, GMB architectural firm, some of our middle school people sat down, discussed furniture, looked at some different options, went and visited some places, talked to some of the people there about about what's good about this, what's not so good, and so on. And there are a variety of things out there. So coming back and looking at some things, they really narrowed some pieces down. But to really buy a lot of it, which we will be buying a lot of it, it makes sense to live with it for a while. And we have the opportunity to do that. So what we're asking here is to purchase 3 classrooms of furniture. And it's, again, not just desks. There's a variety of things within that. And we're going to set them up in very similar spaces within our current middle school and give our kids and our staff an opportunity to try them out, give feedback before we move forward. You can see on here on the timeline, we're hoping to have that feedback before next December, and then there we'll look at some pricing and some options there, and then bring that to you, whatever that might be, for full approval. So that's what this is about. You can also see on here there are several state-wide and national contracts that we're part of where we're able to secure really good prices, rates from those. So I think it's a good situation for us, and it just makes a lot of sense. Sometimes, my wife and I bought a couch, and I wish we had a little while to sit on that thing and try it out.
Same with the bed. I think the bed's hard to buy.
That's another one. Those sometimes are tough, but I think this would be a great opportunity. So, Any questions?
Well, I think you've got 2 exceptional companies you're working with.
Yeah.
Custer and Great Lakes, both of them are their reputations are excellent, specifically in commercial. So,
Are any of
You work
these?
with them, Christy, don't you? Custer, as well?
Are any of these piloted materials based on things that you saw during walkthroughs of the buildings?
Yes, they went to a few places, but there's some things in Zealand, some things in Byron Center, I know. So yeah, we did some of our travels there.
Are they looking for ease of use and wear and all of that stuff, or they're just?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
which classrooms?
GMB has their own person that's strictly
Yeah.
furniture. I mean, that's their thing, and they can give you a lot of different thoughts on different things because they've experienced it with other school districts. So.
And we're looking towards collaborative designs,
Definitely collaborative. designs.
module, moving.
Things that are mobile, yes. Things that you could, it's not just fixed in a room and it's there for the next however many years.
Are the desks vertically adjustable?
I don't know.
That's a big thing in the office thing.
Yeah.
Furniture that I see for work nowadays.
Yeah, I'm not sure if student desks are, we would have to look
Because
into
a lot of
that.
people
When
want
we
to
get them set up, maybe
stand up to
we'll
work
do a
now.
little field
Yeah.
trip. Pay a visit.
All right.
The piloted materials, are they able to be brought into the new building? I know there's a lot of rules about used equipment, new equipment. Is it considered new equipment even if it's piloted for a year?
I think we could, yes, we could use it in the new building, and if it's something we, even if it's something that doesn't fit, let's say we have something we decide,
Yeah.
that's not for us, there are several options there. One is, we have places within our district, I'm sure people would want to use just because it wouldn't work for whatever it is they're doing. So we'll have options.
Okay.
Not worried about that.
Any other questions? Comments? Let's do a roll call.
Palmer,
Yes.
Gardine,
Yes.
DeHaan,
Yes.
Buck, yes. Wondergen,
Yes.
Hybor, Klein.
Yes. Motion passes. Next item. Returning back to the policies we reviewed before, it is recommended that the Board of Education approve the following policies. The policies are as follows. Neola policies, policy 6110, grant funds revised. Policy 6114, cost principles spending federal funds revised. And policy 6325, procurement federal federal grants funds revised.
So move.
Support. Thank you. Let's discuss.
Okay, so you've seen these for a while now, and just again to point out, the main pieces of all three of these really have to do with EDGAR, the Education Department, general administrative regulations that we have to follow, and so some changes have been made there. Prevailing wage is probably the main thing in there, and as you read through those, of course, what I did is I took the revisions, the addition parts, and I put them in our current policy and made them green as they are even in the updated one, just so you could see what the changes are. But those are, this is probably the easiest board policy review we've had since I've been here, because there are such few policies, and really it ties down to EDGAR, which we have to follow, and prevailing wage.
It looked like in the financial types of things.
Yes.
And so our financial office can do all those
Yes,
things that they're now saying we have to do,
Very
right?
well aware,
Very well
yes.
aware and
right.
okay.
So any other questions about those? I almost feel like this group's too easy because there's only a few. It's pretty standard language change.
All right. We'll just take a full vote. All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carries. Policy approved. Fantastic. Now moving on to our discussion items for the evening, the much-awaited Riverbend conversation.
Yes. Yes, so just to take you back a little bit, and I have, I'll pass these out, have a little bit of a timeline here, and I'll talk about these as well, so everybody knows what we're talking about. You can recall some time ago, we had some discussion about Riverbend. Riverbend has been closed for some time. I've been here 7 years, and I know this happened even a few years before I was here, so it's been a while, and we had some discussion about, what we're going to do with it. And then I also was contacted and called them back, Tom Wells. I believe Tom's here tonight in the back there. And we had some conversation about Riverbend as well. The building is in rough shape. We, for some time, used it for storage. And it really is it's a building that you don't even really want to store things in anymore. I mean, I think it was mothballed, and it's with the humidity and the different things, the weather changes and stuff. It's not a a climate-controlled place, so it does present some challenges there, and so we really haven't been able to use it even for that. There are people who like to hang out there. Tom knows that. There are people that like to hang out there from time to time, and that can cause some issues too, I think, for the neighbors and so on. After having conversation with Tom, and I know Tom reached out as well to Tom Mulker, and I really was wondering what they would appreciate with that land, how they would feel about the land, about the building being torn down, and then what do we do with it after that, if anything. And having that conversation, and Tom, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the neighbors out there believe that they would love for it to be a school, but since that building can't function as a school and it can't be a school, their choice would be to tear it down as well, to have it taken down. And then what I would recommend to you is that after tearing it down, that I sit down with Tom and Tom out there and just talk in regards to the land and talk about what they would appreciate and try to work together to figure out what, if anything, again, will happen with that land. And there are some, there's some general ideas, and they're, again, also not ruling out the fact that it's just land too. So we'll have conversation about that and figure out what to do and come back at a later time with that recommendation. If what I wanted to do is provide information tonight, provide this timeline tonight, and then what I would like to do is bring this back next month. That gives a little time for us. If you have any questions, any further questions or anything, or anyone else has any further questions, or some things are brought up that we can talk about it. In tearing it down, there are some pieces of it that we want to make sure, are a part of that. Obviously the concrete's there. We know there's a drain out there. Tom tells me there's a drain out there. We have to be, very aware of those. There's a well out there. There's some things out there. And so I had asked Tom if he could join us when we meet with OAK and GMB and have our conversations about the details of that happening, if he could meet with us, because he knows a lot more about that area than I do. So we'll sit down with them and talk to them about that before it's torn down. The timeline, it sounds like it would be in the fall, would be the time that it would be torn down if we go that route. You can see the cost here for that. That has been put together for us as well, estimated $566,000.
Does that include leaving that land pretty well cleaned up, right?
Yes.
I mean, that
Yes.
cost.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, they
Seating.
do that all the
yeah,
time.
making sure you don't leave cement, you don't leave
Right.
anything
Right.
dangerous or whatever.
Yeah,
That includes all that.
Stuff would all
Okay.
be taken care of.
Okay.
What's the estimated value of the property after the building's torn down?
No idea. It probably depends on the market. It's not a lot of land.
I mean, it's 5.2 acres,
5.2 acres.
so it would be, my guess is $300,000?
Yeah.
Depends on if it's,
Probably.
is it zone rural preserve or is it, if it's rural preserve, you could build 2 houses on it if you put it on that. All right. All right. I mean, I'm just curious.
Is that 5.2, is that total?
Yeah. I mean, according to the Onyx Maps information.
I think that's pretty close. Well, Mr. Wells, thanks for coming. I mean, I really appreciate you coming tonight. And until I got news. So I got brand new news on the board update, and now in front of me is I was under the impression until very recently that the land would, if we didn't use it for educational purposes, because that, I believe that was probably the Wells family thought it would be going back. In looking at this document and the summary that we have, this is our land. And, you know, we always want to do the right thing, but I guess my question that I have is, it can possibly be rezoned for housing, for residential, and would we want to be exploring at least the opportunity to see if there's any value in residential and having the developer handle the cost of the demolition? I'm just throwing it out there. I don't know that much, but I'm not trying to take away what we should be doing, but if we're looking to sell it and we're going to, you know, the school district as a whole is going to take $600,000 to clean it up, and then we're going to potentially sell it.
I think it's
We're at a loss.
6 in one hand, half dozen in another. It increases the property value to have a decrepit structure off of it, or we can sell it at a lower price and they can demo it. Is it?
I'm just curious if it's only.
It's a good idea,
If it's only
but
worth
I'm
like
curious on the
300,000
numbers.
when it's clear. I mean, is it worth it for us to, like Bob is saying, is it worth it for us to try and sell it as a one whole thing? And
Another question I have is there any abatement of the soil or anything that needs to be addressed for that either by taking that down?
OAK will look into all that before it would happen. They do that.
Specifically, if, you know, there's a
Because
cistern there and we
yeah.
got to deal with
Yeah.
that particular piece of it, yeah. So that would
Yeah.
be.
is that something we could get like the county or the state to buy it for, make a little tiny park or something?
Well, no, you know me, I'm like, could we make it into educational outdoor learning situations? But, you know, that's a lot to, when there are other options where that can be done, so.
Is there sewer there or is it septic?
There's well there, there's, I think it's well septic. Pretty sure.
Both. Okay.
There's not city sewer run down to the school there yet, is there?
There is a line down there, but it's
not
off.
attached.
There is a line.
My son was last year.
There was
that-
always a line, we never
Yeah,
connected.
never connected.
My son was last year there and they couldn't
Interesting.
drink out of the, they didn't
Right,
have water. to drink out of
because of the
water.
condition of the well,
Yeah.
Huh,
Septic.
Yeah.
but it was to the point,
Next
do
to
we
the well.
connect or do we close it? Right, we were
what
at
year
that
did it
point.
close?
Year closed,
2010?
Would
I
be
think it
about
would have been 10 or 12.
12 years ago? 12
Okay.
years ago?
It was just
So about
like a
10,
year before I
2010?
started working, because we went out there and dug my dust
Okay.
out of the building. Scrubbed that thing for a few days.
So anyway, you can see why I didn't bring this to have you vote on tearing down. I
Yeah.
wanted
Well,
to
there's-
talk about it a little
Right,
bit.
yeah.
So I would say take some time,
Yeah.
if you have thoughts about what to do with it. I mean, really it's, do we tear it down, don't we tear it down at this point? Do we look at that and then afterwards, I definitely want to include Tom and together and talk about what they would appreciate too, because I do believe they whatever is there or not there, they experience day to day as well. And
Well,
we
exactly.
want to
I
be good
mean,
neighbors,
we have to be good stewards,
right?
right?
Right.
We also have to take care of the interests of the district at the same
Exactly.
time.
Right. So
So,
that combo.
You gotta be able to balance
right.
delicately, potentially,
Yeah.
what we're gonna do.
Right. Okay. All right. So if you have individual thoughts, give me a holler.
Well,
All right.
thanks for coming, Mr. Ward.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
thank you.
All right, at this time, we're going to move to our public comment section of our board meeting. We have 5 individuals wishing to speak this evening. Just want to remind you that you have 5 minutes to speak. You'll get a 1-minute warning from Ms. Palmer over here, who's going to keep track of time for me. And as the individuals are speaking, just remember they're addressing the board, not the crowd. Let's give respect to everyone. and their views, and please make certain if you're speaking that your statements do not violate the rights of others under the laws of defamation or invasion of privacy, and that we're just being thoughtful and considerate of our words, that they're focused on the business of this system, okay? First up will be Shannon Foss, followed by Tessa Jansma.
All right, Shannon Foss, my name and number are on file. The first things that I want to talk about is, our kids. Everything that you guys do, everything the teachers do impact our kids. And when I was watching a video clip about school board meetings, it broke away to somebody saying that we need to break through the private idea that kids belong to their parents. It's not a private idea, it's the truth. These are our kids. And I don't know why or where a group of people have decided that they're not our kids, but they are. We make these decisions for them. We are supposed to be partnering with the school and the school board and the teachers to make sure our kids get a well-rounded education, math, science, arithmetic, history, stuff like that. But there's what I feel is a sixth sense of entitlement, and it's not just our district, it's all over the place. We see it on, it's not covered under the mainstream media, it's kind of the back media, where parents are standing up, and it is not just Grandville, it is everywhere. The entitlement that they can make the decisions for our kids. Our group personally has been attacked, saying that we are terrorists and, coming up and harassing the board when we have a right to speak our piece. In fact, one said teacher which called us the terrorist, praised me at a parent-teachers conference because my son was so great. So it's amazing how, because I speak my mind, we are no longer great. What seems to be a dwindling group, I wouldn't take that as defeat or that we are no longer coming. We are taking turns and trying to put a focus on our children. A lot of our parents have a lot of kids in sports, everything else, so we are trying to make sure we focus on our kids. In fact, I will be taking over as the leader of a scout troop and focusing on them and helping raise them to be upstanding citizens that can think for themselves and fight for their rights. But they will not know my political beliefs. They will not know anything about my home life because it's not their business, as it's not our students' business to know a teacher's home life or a teacher's political belief. Which I think leads to my next question, is that when Patrick Loyola and the police officer ended up in a tragic ending, we jumped as Grandville to support the community on one side when that police officer is from our community. His family lives in our community. He actually lives close to you. So I'm surprised that Grandville would put a statement out not knowing all of the facts when that decision that both of the men made could have landed, if they made different decisions, could have ended up in a different outcome. It was not all one-sided. So I think we need to make sure if we're going to support anything, we're supported staying in our lane and not left, not right, but very neutral, because there's people like the police officer in our community who now is not supported by his own community. So I would like to make sure we point that out, that I support him. I know that he didn't go out and made a decision. I'm not going to, he didn't wake up and say, I'm going to go shoot somebody today. So I know that was a rough decision for him. Again, I want to say, don't take our dwindling numbers as defeat, because it's not. As Justin Nordhook pointed out, that no, we did not get the numbers, but they were an insurmountable number to get, but we did get thousands. So know that there are people that are upset with this. We are not giving up. We are still coming. We are still talking. We're still here to make sure you guys hear our voice. I am also, because I'm not going to be here every single meeting, I am also starting this Kent County chapter for Moms for Liberty, which is a national organization that, if you think that our group is small now, it won't be. We're going to have a national backing. So know that we are not going away. We're only going to get stronger.
Thank you, Shannon. Next up, Tessa Jansma, followed by Julie Dahl.
My name is Tessa Jansma. My address is on file. I've had quite a few complaints about feeling not welcomed into the libraries. I'm starting to realize why. We have a Destiny Discover on our Grandville website where you can go and see what books are available. I'm going to read you a few since our kids can read them, so we all should hear it. The author is Ellen Hopkins. We have 13 books in our Grandville High School of hers. All 13 are probably as disgusting as the two I'm going to read for you. This first one is called Identical. Okay, this was from the book. It says, Kaylee, roused at his words, came into the moment, secure in the aurora of Daddy's love. She tried to sit up, but Daddy pushed her gently back down against the mattress. Just stay like that for Daddy. I want to teach you something new. He lifted her nightgown, rolled it up over her belly, coaxed her thoroughbred legs apart. She squirmed, a paltry protest. Don't move. Daddy's scarlet face underlined his command. I thought he might smack her, but as quickly as his anger flared, it dissipated. Smoke. Don't be afraid. This won't hurt. You'll like it, I promise. He kissed the length of her torso down to the small, naked V. It was only his mouth that night. He didn't even ask her to touch him. Prove how much she loves him. Afterwards, she worried. Didn't he love her any more? What had she done wrong? And yet he had taught her something new, something awful. Worse, something wonderful, something every girl should know the joy of. Though, of course, she couldn't learn it from Daddy. At 10, it isn't exactly easy to separate good touch from bad touch, proper love from improper love, doting Daddy from perv. But tonight will be perv-free, hugged by my ostentatiously thick mattress, falling fast, faster towards blessed sleep, or in my case, more like the sleep of the damned. And that goes on for a little bit. That's just one of them. Let's go to another one. So this was my initial book that I came across that was just outrageous that we have this in the high school. This one is also by Ellen Hopkins. It's Crank is the book. It says, he did terrible things. I still got the scars. Things no sane person should ever do. Kisses, glued to bites, bruises, off came my shorts, down went his zipper. Brendan paused, savoring my terror. Had he done it a different way, I may have responded with excitement. Instead, I froze as he pushed inside me. I laid there sobbing as he worked and sweated over me. Stoked by the monster, it took him a long time to finish. He pulled away, sticky and bloody. That was the chapter. It started with the kiss. If I had known you were going to just lay there, I wouldn't have bothered. The rapist tells his victim on the car ride home. In the chapter, No Hint Remorse, told my mother, fuck you. Chapter which roused me. Talk about your strange bedfellows. I was in line for that menage a trois, whatever that is, chapter, and that quite hot moment. My boss almost caught me last night. I think I could convince her to try a line. I would love to get her in bed, Adam said. Don't blame me there, man. She's a babe. For someone my mom's age, I'd do her too. Think she'd go for a threesome? Linz asked. Whoa, baby, keep it in your pants, at least till I take it out of them. Anyway, three's a crowd. I decided three's a throng. Four's more. Chapter, Dad said. We used to do coke. till just say no, put that stuff out of reach. Now it's crank, meth, the monster. It's a bitch on the body, but damn, do you fly? Is this why I can't go in the libraries? Is stuff like this? My son said he's seen nudity, he's seen breast in books in the library. That's in high school. God knows what you guys are doing in the elementary, but this needs to be checked and corrected immediately. This goes against the code of conduct for Michigan libraries, for the schools, and you will lose funding.
Time up.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tessa. Next up, Julie Dahl, followed by Michelle Thomas.
Good evening. My name is Julie Dahl. My address is 1056 White Pine Drive. I just wanted to speak tonight about a couple things. First, Tessa, obviously, thank you so much for calling that to our attention. I didn't know that was in the library. I'm going to assume, give you guys all the benefit of the doubt. You probably don't know either, but I'm asking you to take care of that. Also, we have not been able to there's a lot of teacher libraries that happen inside the actual classroom exclusively, and parents don't know what books are in the teacher libraries. If teachers could have some transparency, that would be fantastic. I just want to make a formal request for that, because a lot of the books in the library are subject to a lot of transparency. However, the books in the teachers' classrooms are not. Secondly, I want to talk about consistency. So I've been in the private sector my entire career. A lot of you have been in the, I've been in the public, you've been in private, you've done a lot of education, things like that. Things are run a little bit differently. I kind of look at you as, the board of directors, management. There's a lot of inconsistency amongst how things are being run right now within the elementary schools when it comes to different protocols. Some schools, some elementaries are completely wide open. Some are completely closed still to parents. Again, as you guys, board of directors or everything, I would think that coming together as a community, you would want to see consistency amongst all the elementary schools. Why is there still at Grandville, kids can't even get picked up by their parents? Why do their parents still have to sit in the car line? They can't actually go up to the school and pick them up. Why is that still happening? It's been addressed over and over and over and over again. It's become a safety issue, traffic-wise. Parents are not allowed in the building still, but other elementaries they are. I see that as poor management from a lot of people sitting in this room because it's so inconsistent and it doesn't make sense. If you have one policy, I would assume that most schools have that policy, but you don't. So let's try to rein that in a little bit and figure out how to have the consistency there. I'm all for autonomy, making sure that principals have the decisions to do what's best for the elementary, but parents want to get back into that school, and they have been denied over and over again. And there's no clear answer as to why or when the timeline is going to be changed. Speaking of management style, there's a few things coming up I'm sure that you will have to address soon. Again, as the leaders of the school, there's a lot you've been hearing about. I'm sure down in Florida, a lot of the gender ideology, a lot of the sexual education that's happening with our students. I would ask that stays out of Grandville. We as parents would love to see those fundamentals. We support Grandville. That's why there's a lot to fight for. We see wonderful things happening. I would love to see, obviously we've said it before, my kid's back in Grandville. But when stuff like this is happening within a lot of school districts, it gives a lot of us parents who have pulled our kids, it gives us pause to think. What is going to happen? So when you have a lot of schools around the country and within Michigan and within Kent County, all happening with all of the sexual ideology, the gender ideology, all of that happening, how are you going to handle it? Where do you stand on a lot of that? Where do you stand on education for children K through 3 when it comes to that? Is that your role as an educator? Is it the teacher's role as an educator? Is it the parent's role? Who knows what's best for the child, right? Whose child is this? I would vote that the parent knows, and the parent wants to have that discussion. It is not the role of an educator to have those discussions. Another big issue that's going to be coming up soon, how are you going to handle it? Transgender in sports. We've seen things happening all over. We've seen most recently the NCAA didn't say anything. They were quiet when Leah Thomas, a transgender male competing as a female swimmer, just one for a female swimmer, the fastest 500. What's going to happen to those female athletes when they don't have equal opportunity? Are you going to stand up for those athletes? As a former Grandville athlete, the way I went to college is because I was a collegiate athlete. I had a scholarship. That's the only way I went to college. If I was competing against men for that, how would that happen? So, how are you going to handle these issues coming up? To Shannon's point, our group might look a little smaller. The only reason I'm here tonight is because 2 practices were canceled due to the rain. But just know that there's thousands of people that went out there and said, we weren't paying attention before, but we are now. We are paying attention, close attention now. There's not a lot of backing. I see a lot of gloating from people like the SOS, Jason Norhook, all of that. There's a big group out there. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Julie. Michelle Thomas? Okay, thank you for being here. And finally, John Schwab.
Well, thank you. I'm John Schwab. I work for you at the high school. And I just want to thank you for what an honor it has been. I teach about 9 different classes. I'm wrapping up my 45th year. And I talked with John, and I turned in my papers to that point of retiring. And I made a vow years ago that I would thank the people that made it possible. I love doing this. Love the kids. And all of you have been so, so good to me throughout the years. You virtually have never said no to me. And so when I talked about, can we have a store out at the mall? You can make it happen, John. See what you can do. And we did. And that was so much fun. Roger, when he first started, I think it was like his 2nd, 3rd week, I said, Roger, how would you like to go on a kayak trip between the Grandville City Council and the Georgetown Board? And if we could have you involved, it would just be so, so powerful. And he said yes, and that shamed those people in Jenison to join us, and we had a ball, and it was very, very powerful. I cannot remember when you said no, and there was like 40 or 50 major things that I had a chance to be involved in, and I just want to really, really thank you. Years ago, Vern Boss, our former superintendent, just an awesome guy, taught me how to write grants. And he said, John, I want you to make me cry. So I'd write these grants out, and I'd turn them into Vern, and he said, I didn't cry, John. And he'd send it back. But pretty soon I got good at it. And when we built the store in the mall, we raised $250,000. And there was a number of things like that we were able to find the money. And I have just had a ball. The people throughout the years, it's tough for me. Brian Callahan, pillars. They were just some of the best people I've ever known. So, sorry.
No, it's breaking me down.
Throughout the years, my students give me ties. So I teach business, and I try to wear a tie almost every day. And so this one was last week I got. And she's from Mexico, and she visited relatives and brought me back a tie. I was very, very thrilled. I got about 300. And I just, I'd like to share a tie with you, just to commemorate, if you don't mind. So, if I may, I brought some, you can pick them out. But I did. I thought this would fit Bob well.
That's what the American plan.
So, yes. So, Bob, if you would.
Thank you, John.
And I think you were heavy in sports,
Yeah.
if I remember.
Yep.
And then I couldn't decide. I thought maybe smiley face or a light bulb going off.
Thank you.
And, sir, I thought this would be very good. Certain teachers. And Kim, I don't know. I'm going to let you pick one, Kim.
You know, I'm going to pick the one with the money on it. Because
There you go.
have been so impactful to my own sons in teaching them how to manage their money. Mom can't tell them how to do it, but Mr. Schwab can.
Well,
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Oh, wow. I think I'm
Okay.
the Tasmanian
Yes.
devil.
Welcome.
Thank you so much.
This is
And,
fantastic.
well,
Well, I'm going to annoy my children and sing the wheels on the bus.
There you go.
Round and round. Thank
folks
you.
have,
Wow.
I was a jeweler, and I was a jeweler's apprentice for 6 years.
At Whitmark.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
You worked with my wife's best friend,
And who was that again?
Denise Sanford.
Yes.
Yeah,
I was associated with them for 20 years.
yeah.
Because the first 12 years I was here, they said, John, we're not sure we can keep you. Because we had declining enrollment. Believe it or not, we went from 1,550 down to 1,150.
Oh.
And you folks kept my job. You also made my class required for graduation, which was consumer economics. And I taught that for 27 years. Loved it. And I designed my own curriculum. You let me do it all. It was awesome. So I just want to say thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
No, we don't typically reply to public comment, but I think it's well-deserved. Thank you, Mr. Schwalm.
Thank you.
Sneaking out the door. He's made an incredible impact on our students, including my children. I've had just so many parents tell me. One that sticks with me is a parent who told me about how their daughter went through the Dave Ramsey course with him. Thank you. And 2 years after high school, she had paid off 2 vehicles, bought her own house, and paid off college. And she owed it all to the things that she learned in his class. So just a gem, 45 years. That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
That's dedication. Thank you all for being here. We are going to be moving into closed session for the purposes of superintendent's evaluation. I'm going to take a motion to do that. Just want to explain that. That's normal procedure. We're going to go that direction. Usually takes an hour or so. That means everyone will be leaving the building when we do that, or leaving the room, and the doors will be closed. So can I get a motion to move into closed session?
So moved.
Support.
Thank you. Take a 5-minute recess, please, so everyone can take care of business.
Did we vote?